Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our podcast series, the Spotlight Sessions here at High Level. In these sessions, we showcase the top leaders in marketing and sales. Today, I'm joined by Janie Budnick, the CEO of PetBizCRM and PetBiz University. Janie's superpower is helping business owners in the pet industry go from overwhelm to clarity. And today we've put together an episode to do exactly that. Take away any confusion, any uncertainty, any overwhelming feelings, and bring you to a clear path to where you need to be to grow your business. Today's episode is called From Dog Walker to Pet Biz Industry Expert. And she's going to be sharing her story on how that evolved quickly, but most importantly, sharing some nuggets in 3 talking points that we put together to help you get that clarity you need. First one is believing in yourself and the possibilities. We'll then be pivoting into dodging the noise and armchair experts. And then we'll be bringing this episode home with creating your own intellectual properties based on valid resources and information out in the marketplace. Janie, this is long overdue. It's great to have you here finally. And for those in our audience who might not know you yet, could you share a little bit about who you are and your journey?
Absolutely. JB, honestly, I am so honored to be here. It was a pleasure getting the opportunity to meet you at the Advanced Mastermind, and I am thrilled to be on here, able to share my story. Of course, you said share quickly, which, I mean, it's 27 years of history. So let's see how we can go whoop and condense that down into a nutshell. So for myself, as you mentioned, PetBiz University, where did that start? Well, it started all the way back in the day, 27 years ago, when I found myself essentially without a job. I had been let go from my previous position at a veterinary clinic as a head technician and office manager, and I had no job. Well, I had been doing a little bit of dog walking and pet sitting on the side for clinic clients for several years, and I just decided to throw my shingle out and just see, hey, can I kind of support myself? Funny thing about the pet industry, many of us end up finding ourselves as accidental entrepreneurs. And here I am 27 years later, still have the same business. I have been operating a very large dog walking and pet sitting service in the St. Louis market. About 3 years ago, I took what I had been doing, mentoring other pet business owners in the industry, and I turned it into an actual business to really provide education in the industry, and additionally to use my talents, my expertise over the years to help other people with their business strategy, especially in the area of operations and marketing.
Yeah, and like you said, 27 years is a lot to unpack, but there's so many highlights in that time frame that we've talked about that you're going to be sharing with us. I think for the biggest ice cube to swallow here is, when did you know it was the right time for you to make the moves that you made?
Wow. For so many years, I really did flounder because there were not any great resources out there for education in our industry. And, a lot of people say, business is business. You can just go out there and grab a book, right? Well, we all like to say in the pet industry, we're a little different. We've got so many different aspects. We've got the retail portion. We've got brick and mortar services. We've got in-home services. We're a little different. And we also are dealing with some of the most personal things in someone's lives, their home and their babies, their 4-legged babies, right? So it's a very, very different industry. And as I was kind of struggling to learn all these things on my own, starting to put the pieces together, the opportunities really just started opening up. I realized that I enjoyed networking and mentoring other people here in my local marketplace. I kind of became known for that. I don't believe in competition. It's all collaboration, definitely the we over the me in my world. And so it just kind of developed from there. And it's amazing when you have a growth mindset, how many opportunities just start appearing when you just put that openness out in the universe. It comes back to you.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that as well. And for those that may not understand that or how that works, we'll sprinkle some of that insight in our episode here. But for for pet business owners that are in the beginning stage, that are in similar situation that you were once in, where they're working for maybe a veterinarian clinic or a pet store. Maybe they're frontline staff or supervisor or store manager, or even just office manager. It could be any position. They have a passion for the pets, our four-legged family members. They have loyalty to the business because of the impact it has, but the loyalty to their family and to their future supersedes all of that I mentioned. What is the right way, without allowing guilt to overshadow the future of one person? How can they go about following their maybe calling or their dream to get into a entrepreneurial next level of running their maybe side hustle or their hobby into a business to serve themselves and their family?
Oh, wow. Well, I can definitely say there are so many more resources that are out there that you can follow, between just the regular education, the really growth-minded podcasts that are out there, the books. I am an avid reader. I actually have a pet business book club too, of all things, right? Add one more thing, but that's very much what I'm into. And so a lot of it is really getting plugged into the right places to get the information. And more than anything, if you're looking at starting that entrepreneurial journey, it typically comes from a place of being stressed out, overworked, unappreciated, where you want to have your own show. You see that your own production in the marketplace is being capitalized on by someone else, and you want to really be able to take charge of that and really be able to design your own future. And that's where a lot of us got into this. Well, I guess a lot of entrepreneurs in general, is from just that pain point of, I am more than this, right? I mean, I've done this over half of my life. I can tell you, I had a little stint in there where I tried to go be an employee for someone else. It did not work.
Mhm.
When you have that mindset that you can create, that you can make your own way, that you are creating your own legacy for yourself, for your family, for future generations, there's kind of no going back after that. But definitely you have to take a step back and kind of see, what are your goals? What are you planning on doing with your future? Where do you see yourself down the road? Some people, this just might not be what, their best pathway. So you really have to seriously think about, where your heart is, because most of us that have been entrepreneurs know that you have to learn how to set a lot of boundaries. There's a lot of organizational experience and skills that you have to either have naturally, or you have to figure out how to bolt on some of these additional skills, so you're not struggling so hard. And more than anything, find a support group, a support network, whether locally, social media, or even getting out there and finding someone who has been before you doing what you want to do someday, who is willing to come in and help mentor you and nurture you in that pathway.
Yeah. I appreciate you adding some more context to that, because that is the information that, if you read it, you can grab a nugget or two,
Mhm.
right? If you hear it, you can grab a nugget or two. If you see it on a YouTube channel, you can grab a nugget or two. But to hear from an actual person who's doing it day in, day out, right? Who's been there, done that, who's putting themselves, in that position of helping and sharing with others, is so much more powerful in this type of setting than just someone who maybe shares theory or technical strategy.
Mhm.
When we shared offline, we were talking, you've evolved with tech and you've evolved with systems and processes. But I want to touch on something that was very passionate when we spoke, that you believe is the foundation. And that is our first talking point, which is believing in yourself
Mhm.
and the possibilities. Could you
Mhm.
share a little bit about maybe, what your personal family life demands may be, right? Like on a day to day, and how you combine that with running your own business. How do you remind yourself that you can do this?
Oh, wow. I mean, you are just opening up a real bucket there, right? I didn't always have that confidence in myself. It is something that has been learned through education, but probably more so through maturity. I know in my case, as I've had my business and my path as an entrepreneur, I've also had 4 children. My most recent being my surprise at age 46. So I currently have a 3-year-old. And, all of the changes that I have seen in my life have really refined my focus on who I am and who I can be, what the possibilities are for me. I actually choose yearly. I choose a particular word that is my focus for the year, and this year that word is possibility. It is me operating my life and my business as if I've already achieved my goals. I'm a firm believer in a positive mindset, and I read as much material as I can on that. Just positive thinking. In other words, I don't watch the news. Don't ask me about news. Anything else, I do surround myself and really just immerse myself in that positive mindset and positive thinking. So, every day I wake up and I do operate as if I am, my goals. I have the intention of being a $10 million and 8-figure business and providing $1 million to my affiliates. So those are my goals. That's what I work towards. And more than anything, when I look at that, I realize, who do I have to be that person? Right? I have to get myself to that point. If there's some skill I don't have right now, which, absolutely, I will say I have an issue with that initial organization and delegation. That's what I'm personally working on myself right now with my team. In order to be that 8-figure business, I have to fix this first. So I'm always looking for, what is the next thing that is going to get me to that next stage?
So powerful, as we unpack that, whether it is somebody who is, getting their business off the ground and they're consuming so much information, whether it's YouTube videos, podcast episodes, maybe they're using a software, programs, widgets. They're trying to figure it all out, right? While they're maybe maintaining their family and then their full-time job, or their Uber driver, Lyft driver, whatever the case may be. They're balancing more than one thing. So I appreciate you sharing that it's okay to do that, and you have to prioritize. And what really resonated with me was the one word that you focus on, and then the manifesting and the forward thinking that you remind yourself that in order to be there, I must believe and picture myself there. Sometimes, whether it's a dog grooming, pet training, veterinarian related service, that business person that is doing that, like, setup, may not think or feel that their business is as important as it should be. How do you start to build that confidence of, my business is going to be changing lives, helping legged friends, and make an impact in the community? How do you start to, like, bring that to life?
Mm, wow, I find that so much in community. That's what I always encourage people to do, is find that community, find those other people that are thinking big ahead of you.
Mm.
Some of my main things is never be the smartest person in the room, which that's the way I felt certainly at the mastermind. But additionally, making sure that you have those other people in your corner that are not going to be your naysayers. Many times when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you might have people around you, family, friends, that just aren't believers in what you're doing. And if you listen to that narrative of, are you sure? How are you going to afford things? All of that negative thinking, then that's going to make you start to doubt your abilities. So, it's really looking for those little wins. That's what keeps me going on a daily basis, is having just these little wins. Some people like those little checklists of things to do. I'm a Post-it note queen, so that's my thing. But making sure that there's always something that is reinforcing what you are doing and surrounding yourself with the right people. Those are some of the things that I certainly focus on. And I do recommend for people accountability groups, even just an accountability partner. Doesn't have to be somebody in your industry, someone who is just willing to, on a weekly basis, listen, be a sounding board, and then really being able to make those commitments for, how you're going to get to your goals. What is your next best thing?
Yeah, so powerful. And, as I'm listening to you and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of others, and putting myself in the shoes of what my journey has been, we sometimes we take mindset for granted. We sometimes we write it off as just some woo woo, or oh, that's just another way of saying that you got to work hard. It's beyond that, in my opinion. And you validated a bunch of things with the way that you shared your journey with your initial mindset, pivoting into a modified mindset, and then growing upon both of those past experiences that you've had. For somebody that has a few wins on the books, right? So let's say, for example, they get their business, locally recognized through some friends, family, they get their, customers, they're building this confidence like you said they should be doing. What is the best way to track those wins? Could you share a little bit of your experience with where you track and how you go about kind of tracking those wins that you've had so you can reflect on them?
I love that. That's one of those things that just one little trick that I do is, I have my Post-it notes, like I mentioned. And what I do is I write down all of the tasks that I need to do. So, I'm looking at a wall of Post-it notes over there. But one of the things I do when I complete something, I put it next to me. At the end of the day, I go back and I review each one of those things. So I can appreciate myself for what I've accomplished. Otherwise, I would get to the end of the day and I'd be frustrated because I feel like I'm just like, what have I done all day long? I've been working and I've gotten nothing accomplished. So I really sit back at the end of the day and I look over, what did I do? How did I push the needle forward? And I take those and I roll them up and throw them in the trash can and celebrate myself. So that's just one of the little techniques that I use personally to make sure I don't let the day just go by.
Yeah, and that's important. And I think hearing it from someone that owns a business, runs a business in an industry that somebody may be watching that is a part of or thinking to support a family member that maybe is in that industry themselves, all of this works well. Even if you're not in the pet industry or we're human beings, there's small nuggets that you can take from podcasts of all kinds or trainings of all kinds and apply them into your business model. So I appreciate you putting yourself out there and really sharing the emotional side of what's fueled you to go from point A to now where you're at. And I'm sure along that journey, you've had a handful of mentors and channels that you've subscribed to, or maybe commentary that you've heard in a private or small group setting of people that, for better set of terms here, believe they know it all, right? Because they believe that their way is the only way, or their pain was the only pain, and therefore they're giving you their maybe best recommendation based off of that. And then you have those that are just giving out false information that they listen to and they repeat it again to maybe just, feel smart or contribute some way to the industry. You like to refer to them as armchair experts, right? Like the people that just didn't do enough due diligence and they're not really part of the industry as much as those that truly are. How do you go about, as a pet business owner, dodging all of that? That it sounds so great and sounds so relatable, but it really isn't what it should be for what they're doing.
Yes. As you were saying that, I'm like, wait, are you just defining social media and society in general? Right? That's what it is. We hear something, we latch onto it. It sounds great. And so we just regurgitate it, right? Without any personal experience, personal knowledge of what you're actually saying. And that is I'm sure that's in a lot of industries, not just the pet industry, but there is so much noise out there. I know how challenging it is for someone who is an entrepreneur in any industry, starting a business, young in a business, really hasn't gotten to that maturity point. You're reaching, you're trying to figure out, like, who do I listen to? What's the latest, greatest thing? And I can speak for our own industry. The social media is just rampant with very bad suggestions, some illegal suggestions that are out there, a lot of ethical issues. And there are people, like, I do call them the armchair experts. I wonder how much of a business they truly have, because they seem like they're always the ones that are commenting and, from their own perspective. Ever since I actually started in 2021 with PetBiz University, it seems like coaches have just crawled out of the woodwork. I know the pandemic put a lot of people digital in that digital space, so many people taking courses, then people starting to realize, hey, that's a great way I can diversify my business, right? And so there are just so many voices out there, and they all have similar but different things to say. I mean, people who truly have skills in being able to share their knowledge and guiding someone else, that is absolutely wonderful if they truly have skills and aren't just regurgitating what else is out there, right? Mm-hmm. And so people need to really take a step back and figure out what their goals are first. Otherwise, you're going to be consumed by the noise. The overwhelm as an entrepreneur can be intense. Speaking to the audience, how many of you have courses that you've bought and you've never even done? It just sits there, right? There's so much knowledge available that you really have to take a step back and realize, well, knowledge without application is completely worthless. I've spent a lot on my education, and I've wasted a lot on my education on those types of things, because I'm a learner personality. I continually absorb new material. For myself, my gift is curating. So I'm a curator. So this year I am curating possibility for other pet business owners. That's what I do, but that puts me in a little bit of challenge. I had to really learn that about myself to be able to know when to put on the brakes and say, all right, I need to dig deeper into this. I need to ignore the rest of the overwhelm that is out there, because this is what I need right now, personally or in my business.
So, outside of, it's great to be a student. It's great to look for information. It's great to do research. It's important, no matter what business you're in. Mm-hmm. But I think the highlight is the goals. Line up your goals so everything fits within your goals, complements your goals, versus making goals on the run or always pivoting and changing on the run. And as I'm thinking about that, when you hear it and you say it to yourself, what are my goals? You start to say, man, I really don't have any solid goals. And that's the opportunity that you start to create what is going to have a measurable impact on your personal life and your family life. When it comes to finding the right mentors, joining the right groups, maybe consuming some of the industry magazines or websites, for someone that is looking to grow their business as a whole, where should they start with, I guess, validating the sources, or like, just what's a good entry point where it's at least 60% trustworthy rather than 50-50?
I love it. So, in the pet industry specifically, I guess you're asking?
That, and then even for those that might be coming across this, that they have a marketing agency, they're in a coaching business, that they want to educate themselves, they want to give good information. How can they get their sources refined so they're not just regurgitating the wrong, erroneous information?
Yeah. Just from a business perspective, how to run your business, how to systematize your business, automation, those are all things I'm heavily into. I look to some of the larger established organizations out there that have a true voice in just business in general, EOS, strategic coach, things like that. I go for very established things, entree leadership. Again, my education has gone very, I have gone very, very deep into a lot of these areas. So, that's what I would say from that kind of perspective. I generally stay away from the social media. It's so noisy again and inflated. It's very hard to tell. I don't base it off of how many followers you have. I'm not a terrible friend of social media. It's not my favorite thing. So yeah, and then, I mean, in the pet industry specifically, there are so many wonderful organizations. We have great industry organizations like, IBPSA, the International Boarding and Pet Services Association. I'm actually on the board of the Professional Animal Care Certification Council, which is PACC, PACCC. And, they are an organization that is there for standardization of care across the entire industry. So there are groups like that in our industry that have amazing statistics, data, recommendations, education. Fortunately, our industry has grown and really developed, and now one of the biggest challenges is uniting everyone across the industry, because we're all kind of our separate little silos, and that's where I feel like I kind of step into the space to be really one of those integrating points.
Amazing. So if I'm listening to this, and I'm trying to reverse engineer it, I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should look up some of the nonprofit organizations in the industry I'm serving.
Mhm.
Maybe I should see, who in that industry, there's a hierarchy of president, vice president, board of directors, advisors. And I think
Mhm.
to what you had mentioned, like how you look for your tech and how you look for your business information, you're going to those that have a clear name in the market and then
Mhm.
applying it to your business industry and business model. Is that accurate?
Yes. Yeah. Seeing
Okay.
what works.
Yeah.
There might be some things that you hadn't thought of. I mean, again, like I always say, especially, considering in the pet industry, that you don't want to totally like squirrel on
Yeah.
everything. So, that's what I tend to do sometimes is, ooh, the bright, shiny object. I turn into a little raccoon or something trying to gather it all in. But yeah, you definitely want to be able to filter through some of those things. So those organizations that are there are tried and true. I do love the nonprofit ones that are out there, because typically they're going to be fed by volunteers. And that's a great way for you to get organized, plugged in, and start to network with the right people that can help you grow.
Yeah. And to be clear here, for those that may be forming an opinion that we may not like social media as our source of information, that's absolutely not what any of us are saying. It's go to the source of industry experts within the pet industry or your industry, so that way you could build those relationships at the core and
Mhm.
then build upon them. So, like if, for example, if I was to start, you know, um, a pet industry business, maybe I go into the Association of Veterinarian Practitioners, and I understand I maybe go onto LinkedIn or I go onto their website, I go to their About Us section, and I learn who's who, and then maybe I send them a note to say how can I volunteer and
Mhm.
share a little bit about yourself. It sounds like you spent most of your time in the building phase of your business making friends within the industry and serving.
Yeah, I had really spent the large initial part. I probably started really hyper educating myself in the past decade, but prior to that, it was all very local networking. I never
Mm,
thought I would be outside the local market, because that just
okay.
wasn't even a possibility in my mind at that point. Honestly, I had not grown myself to that point to consider it a possibility. But when of course I started to reach out in the market a little bit more, establishing relationships, networking relationships, other cross industry relationships, that has changed things so much for me.
Yeah. And the term networking gets confusing for some, scares some people away. Could you share, what does networking mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so once upon a time, I would have to say that that growth curve that, I was mentioning, I had kind of gone through. I was a bit of a lazy business owner before then, not really knowing where to get started, what to know. I just kind of kept plodding along, walking my dogs. And it actually started with BNI. So a little extra thing for BNI there. I believe that I joined BNI 10, 11 years ago.
Oh,
Might even
wow.
have been 12 years ago. And that was, I mean, I was the one that was like, give me a glass of wine and I'm going to go over here and be a wallflower. You know, people would have probably mistaken me for one of the caterers because I would hang around by the food table or, you know.
That was
So,
your safe zone at that moment. It was probably new to you. How did you
oh,
get out of that shell?
I'm an introvert. I am truly an introvert. Unless you get me started talking about the industry and then I won't shut up. But how did I get out of that? Honestly, it was a lot of education, which started with BNI, getting comfortable speaking about my business with clarity. Not just, you know, the typical thing. What do you do? I'm a dog walker. I mean, that just totally ends the conversation unless they're like, oh, well, I have a golden doodle, you know. So, you know, really trying to figure out how I can paint that picture in other people's minds, how I can network, how we can collaborate and how we can provide some sort of a support for each other. So very much switching it around to what can I do for other people? Very, very much that Zig Ziglar mentality of, you know, really being able to achieve your goals if you are focused enough on giving to others. So that was something that started taking me down a very helpful and productive pathway in networking, and additionally contributing to my my entire concept of generosity.
Yeah, and now the title makes sense when we were speaking about this, from dog walker to pet biz industry expert. I could see it now. You know, you're in business, right? Survival of the fittest, trying to earn a living while having your freedom and your flexibility, loving pets, loving helping others, but to that moment of here's a service and move on. And then it sounds like when you got into networking, you started getting into more of the industry. And I don't want to get into how you got opened up on the networking, because that could be a whole nother great story
Yes.
to tell. We could save
Yes.
that. But I think somebody or somehow you gained this belief, and then you found your purpose of learning and helping others. And I find it so powerful because I've experienced that myself with what you kind of shared with, you know, networking. You think, oh my gosh, all right, I'm gonna talk to strangers and they're gonna try to sell me something, and then I'm gonna tell them something, and it's not gonna happen. Nothing's gonna happen. So it's powerful to hear it, because there are business owners, whether they're in the pet industry or they have a family member that has a pet business, that they think that they're not entitled to make friends and share their business in a professional setting because it's just pets, and that's totally not true. It's a people business with pets. It's double P. And I respect it, and I love how you shared your story, because you're leaving a lot of food on the table if you don't think outside the box. And that sounds like what you did. You started thinking outside the box
Yeah.
tremendously.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, as an introvert, that was a challenge for me until I made it not about me anymore.
Mm,
And I realized that pets are the ultimate connector with people. I mean, if you think of the statistics of, you know, varies 60 to 70% of people have pets, households have pets. For the majority of the time, if you start a conversation with someone, there's an immediate connection. It
yes.
breaks that fear of the judgment, because then, you know, we automatically have something to talk about. So for an introvert, I'm in the right industry.
Yes. I love my pet. I look for her. I
Oh,
have
what do you have? What do you have?
I have a Maltese. I look for her. I hug her. I lift her up. You bring up such a great point, and you don't really appreciate it till you hear someone else talk about it, because you think it's just a you thing. I'm the
Yeah, no,
only one that
no.
looks for my pet and hugs my pet, and they run away from me because I hug them too much. So that 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 uh that resonated. So thank you for that. It's so with this dodging the noise and armchair experts, I feel if I'm a listener, I'm feeling that like I just need to be around like-minded people, whether they're business, family oriented, in my industry or in my community. I don't need to go out traveling state to state. I don't need to go 2 hours away, work within my immediate area and virtually as needed and make those friends locally through either a BNI, a LATIP, a local chamber of commerce. Is that a good way to kind of get away from the noise and those?
Absolutely. Yes. If you have a local type of business like that, 100%, or if you're
Amazing.
looking at, getting into a local marketplace, that's what you want to do. You want to find all of those ways to be the uniter in the
Mm.
marketplace. I started a local networking group. I'm in charge of the local pet sitters network here. I've been doing that for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
I've started a local podcast trying to unite the different parts of the industry and the amazing, cool people that we have that work with pets. I'm always trying to find things to not just develop PetBiz University, but just to impact locally. So, you can take that whatever direction you want to.
That's powerful to know because we see it out there. We see podcasts, we see networking events, we see books on specific pet topics, and you wonder, oh, that's something that a big company put together. These aren't essentially publishing companies or big companies that put this together, right? You're doing this in your local market, and it's just widespreading
Mhm.
all over.
It's huge. People are looking for that connection.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've seen so many changes in the industry and the way we take care of our pets and the way we relate to our pets, the medical abilities that we have for our pets now. So much has changed just in the pet industry in general, from a pet owner, pet parent perspective, and from a pet business owner perspective, that it's exciting and it's growing.
Yes.
It's really amazing how much it has grown. And, I mean, I hate keep referring back to the pandemic, but that certainly was a point in time for a lot of people and
Yes.
deeply affected the pet industry. With my own
Absolutely.
pet business, I went from nearly a 7-figure business to not quite zero, maybe 5%, because we were taking care of doctors and nurses,
Wow.
the necessary essential professionals that were out there. We still had to stay out on the road, but everybody
Mhm.
was home, right?
Yes. I
Imagine your business going poof.
Oh my goodness. It's scary. And I think, yes, I agree with you. And that could happen at any time, at any moment, if you don't have either that experience that you're consuming from others' painful experiences and learning from that, or making adjustments in your business plan and your business operations to create a what if something similar like this happens again. So I want to get us to the last bullet point that we've put together here, which is creating your own intellectual properties. There's so many avenues we can go about this, but I want to touch on it from the entry point of, in my area, there are thousands of pet sitters, veterinarians, groomers, trainers, whatever the case may be, right? Um, my area is saturated. Then online, there's website directories with even more people out there. Is this an industry I should be going into? Right, that happens in the mind, right? We think it's oversaturated, it's nothing could happen. For someone that wants some encouragement that they should jump in if their heart is calling them. How do you jump in with your heart and protect it with the uniqueness of themselves jumping
Mm,
into the industry?
that's so funny. I run a membership, the Pet Biz MBA, and we're actually talking about positioning. That's our module for this month. And I've been taking them through that entire process of really what is unique about your business, what's unique about you that's different from everyone else. The big thing about our industry now is there used to be all these little factors that were like wow factors, that like, starting to use software, being able to do a dog walk, and afterwards they end up getting pictures and a note and a little
Hmm.
GPS tracker of where their dog was walked. That used to be like, wow, that's amazing, I totally want to use you because you're tech forward. That's the standard now. So people are, you really have to continue evolving into like, what's the next best thing? How can I figure out who my target is and find out what they are going to need next? and really focus on that. Not just like, this is how I want to provide my dog walking services, but figure out, who do you want to serve, and what is it going to take for you to really give them something they need. One of our biggest markets that I really have a heart for serving is our seniors, whether they are home on their own, maybe just a little bit mobility challenged, all the way to assisted living facilities, the senior centers. We even work in memory care centers, because I have a heart for making sure that our seniors can keep their pets as long as they can, especially for memory care. Sometimes that's the last true connection that they have, is their pet being with them. So I have a heart for that. And that is one of the communities that we really reach out to, because that's a passion for me. So it's really figuring out what is your passion, who do you want to serve, and how best can you serve them, finding out that way that you can stand out in your market, and then creating your messaging around those people that, you're talking directly to them. If other people want to join you, great, but these are my people. This is what I'm focusing on.
Wow. And it's to appreciate you sharing that story of the senior care service of, whether it's them, whether you're caring for their pet and, their pet is with their family member, and let's say their daughter's home or their son's home, and they're in the senior center. It sounds like you'll facilitate that experience for them. So they have their pet connection. And that alone, right, it's not about the money, it's about the service and the care. And yes, you can make a business out of that, but it's beyond that. It sounds like it's got to be, what is your calling? How can you serve others? And by byproduct of that, wealth comes with it. You just got to do right by people. And sometimes I feel like, a lot of business owners that are out there, based on the ones I speak with, that will, buy service or software. It's like, well, my market is this, my market is that. I want to get my market. And what is your take on getting your market? And I want to impact the market, and I want to get tons of leads. Like, when people talk like that, I know maybe a little bit of a sales mentality, but how do you soften it?
I know. I feel like I'm a cat and you're rubbing my hair backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that really crawls up my butt.
Gosh.
And it's very much something that I felt at the beginning when I was learning networking, that just like creepy feeling. And that is just when people are looking out for a transaction, not a relationship. So for me, I'm looking at building relationships with my people. And, when you're looking at that, and you're not looking at like, ooh, I just need a lead, right? I'm building a relationship. So I'm trying to find as many ways as I can to, make sure I'm speaking their language. If I have somebody who's coming in and looking at my marketing materials, I want them to very clearly say, this is not for me, or I want the right people jumping up and down screaming, me, me, me. I want to use your service. So I'm looking for those people that really do want to establish a relationship, because this is long-term for us. Again, not every industry is going to be like the pet industry. We're unique. I mean, I still have a client that I started with back in 1998.
Oh, wow.
Of course, multiple generations of cats, but still is a client. These are long-term relationships that we do build in our industry. And I'm sure that can be, pushed out to other industries too, but making sure that there's a relationship and there's something else that you're building besides just a transaction and move on.
Yeah. The term of intellectual properties, IP, is thrown around many different ways for many different purposes. You're a client of ours. We appreciate your business. We appreciate the relationship. You attend our events. You're active in our community. How did you, when you first started your business, and maybe if you didn't have the knowledge, the resources, or the interest of systemizing everything when you first started, how did you go from working with someone as a customer one-to-one directly, maybe through text, email, postcard? How did you start to create intellectual property in your business so that way your customers notice the difference between you and the new dog walker, or you and the new pet other business in the area?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, in our situation, we being able to really have the information that we put out there, the lead magnets. Of course, we have some of that general stuff, the email marketing. That is something that I had really educated myself a lot with, that a lot of pet business owners don't even do. That's what I heavily educate on in my industry is how you do just the basic marketing. A lot of people don't understand even the difference between sales and marketing. They figure they can just hang out their shingle and people are going to come, right? How many times do I read in some of these Facebook groups? It's like, hey, I'm putting stuff out there and I don't have any business. I'm like, wow, there's a lot more to it than that. So yeah, that's what we see, just an awful lot in our industry.
Yeah. And for someone that is running their business with pen to paper right now, right? They're running their paper on pen to paper, maybe on a spreadsheet,
Mhm.
without giving them an overwhelming feeling, but at the very least, giving them a big picture of what clarity looks like. If they were to be your coaching client, what would you tell them would be maybe the first 3 or 4 steps that they need to be ready to adopt to start digitizing their business and really taking it serious with the customer in mind?
Yes. So one of my biggest things, which of course is the reason we are in relationship, really curating the PetBiz CRM for the industry, they really need to have that opportunity to have all their communication in one place and being able to communicate well with the client. In our industry, if you have someone who's looking for a dog walker and is not directly referred to you, they're typically going to be doing a Google search, right? And so, you're overcoming the noise of Google in the first place. But if those people contact, or they don't have an easy way to contact you, or you don't have good messaging on your website, um, if they're going and like, oh, I left a message, they're just going to go to the next person down the list. So, the beauty of PetBiz CRM being able to harness, of course, the high level basis is being able to bring that together. Because if you think of like, okay, what is a pet business owner going to be doing in the middle of the day? The majority, especially in that first 5 years, you're going to be out there walking the dog yourself. You're going to be in the middle of picking up a pile of poop with your poop bag, and then the phone is going to ring, and you're like, I got a dog, I got a bag. What do I do? I don't answer the phone. So that is the potential of losing someone, where you have the ability to, put an automation behind that so you can communicate with them. Just all of these fun opportunities. I'm new to, of course, this program. I started with another agency kind of midway through last year. I'd had a CRM for 7 years myself, and I never understood it, never used it to its potential. And honestly, this has transformed our business and the new group of people that I have that are using it. It's really proving to be an amazing experience for them. And that is wonderful. So that's one of the big things, is making sure that you automate all that communication, because that is so tough to have this person coming from here and there. It's so easy when especially if you're a solopreneur or you have a small team, you're spinning way too many plates to have to go to multiple locations to get your information. And then, really just looking at the systems that you have, developing key metrics in your business that are some of the most important things you need to focus on. Very much, I teach people in my groups to not just focus on that normal little marketing funnel that you always see, where like, ooh, let's stuff as many people in the top as we can, and people are going to fall out, and then you want those clients to come out on the bottom. No, you got to make sure that funnel is an hourglass. So you're building up those people afterwards with relationship, that you really move them forward with your nurturing, which PetBiz CRM does beautifully with the email marketing that we have available, to be able to really develop those relationships all the way until you turn them into like foaming at the mouth fans that are going to help feed your funnel. It's a full circle. So, that's a lot of the stuff that I talk to people about, is making sure you work on those systems of how in each one of those stages do you nurture these people and make sure that they are with you for a long, well, in our case, generations of pets.
Amen. Yes, I agree. And you've leveraged the high level operating system and you've put your PetBiz CRM, intellectual properties and processes and strategies over it. And that is truly what sets you apart from our operating system and
Oh,
others
yeah.
in the market. And I appreciate you sharing that, and really giving that context around the final punchline of where I was hoping we get to, which is creating your process so that way your customer is loyal to you based on, like you said, the relationship, but the ease of doing business with you and never feeling disrespected or ignored because you could not get to them when it was convenient for them.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you've really mastered that, and you're teaching others how to do that, which is amazing. You know, for the remaining few minutes here, I want to throw three questions at you for different types of people. The first question is on behalf of the person that they've watched this podcast episode and they're inspired to take a bet and chance on their dream in business as a whole. What piece of advice or action item or, Janie to them direct message would you give?
For someone who just wants to get in
I
business and
just want to
doesn't
get in
have,
business. I know I have it in me. I know I could do this.
yeah, I mean, it's really figuring out what that missing piece is in the marketplace, where you are going to fill a gap. So, you don't want to just say, hey, I'm going to go start this and then go find your people. Find your people, find what's missing first, and then fill that space. That's where you're going
Amazing.
to make the biggest impact as a business owner.
Amazing. And for the person that is in the middle of their business career, maybe they've been in business 3 to 5 years. Times have changed. They're kind of, business as usual, but they know they need more, but they don't know where to start. What is the fire under the behind that you can give them without making them feel that it's an end all be all? Like, what's that push that you would give to somebody in that situation that just needs that nudge of like, you got more in you?
Yeah. And that's the messy middle. It's a tough place. I feel like I've been in that place several times in my business, like 3 to 5 years, and then the next 3 to 5 years. It's a circle, and you really need to level up each time. So usually I will recommend that you have to have a resource. You need a business coach. You need someone that is going to help guide you, that's not inside your inner circle, because I mean, you really get like total business myopia when you're in the middle of it. There are so many things that you can't see. And usually I prefer to say like a business strategist, someone who can really hear you and can guide you and direct you, not just someone that's a business coach that's going to shake their pom-poms. I mean, working on mindset is huge, but not just a pom-pom shaker, someone that's going to hold you accountable for decisions that you make, and the growth that you've decided you want to have can help keep you on that track.
Amazing. And the last one is for the son, the daughter, the husband, the wife, the guardian, the grandparent, the family member that is in the life of the business owner, right? And they're seeing the hard work, they're seeing the ups and downs. They're not quite seeing what they hoped would be the end result right now. What advice could you give them to be a better supporter on that journey?
Man, that is a tough one. I have so much of a heart for people. Well, people who are able to like actually have a business with a spouse. That's difficult because that's what I got here. Sorry, I'm just pointing into the other room where my husband is. Fortunately, I started my business and my marriage within 2 weeks of each other, and they're both still going. So 27 years on both counts. You know, really, if you have someone that is close to you that is starting their own business, you have to be supportive. Many times it's just listening and not offering unsolicited advice, because you're probably not going to understand where they are right now. If you have not been an entrepreneur in business for yourself, there is so much heart that you put into it. Many times their brain's just not going to stop thinking about what they're doing and how they can improve it. So just really being there, being supportive, and giving them an opportunity to talk to you if necessary, and helping direct them. So it's great whenever you have a relationship with, someone in your family where you can have those conversations. I have an uncle who is who's self-employed. He's an entertainer in Nashville. And we never really truly had a connection until we started connecting over being entrepreneurs. And then we became a bit of that support for each other for a while, which is wonderful. It's a total different definition of a relationship. So, so yeah, taking those opportunities to really reach out and support that person as much as possible.
Janie, I
And
appreciate
encouraging them to take space for themselves.
Amen. That's the punchline.
Yes.
That's the punchline. I appreciate, our audience appreciates you, on peeling the onion and really getting to the parts where you can choke up, you can maybe, drop a tear internally, but stay strong externally. It doesn't go unnoticed. It sounds like you've been through a variety of different ups and downs and in-betweens, and you've learned and you've helped others. And it sounds like your heart is in helping your industry grow because you see the benefit that help that was thrown your way has helped you spring forward. Um, One thing about our high-level community are people like yourself. And people like yourself are looking for others like-minded to maybe grab a nugget or two or get some encouragement. So I appreciate you really, really sharing. And if you are listening into this and you have a question, feel free to jot the question down below in the comments. Janie's going to be sharing some information in the description about how to reach out to her, how to find her. But most importantly, if you are a high-level user already, we appreciate you for listening in. If you are not yet and you are interested in learning more, we have folks like Janie in our community, Janie Budnick, founder of PetBizCRM, that are making an impact and most importantly, sharing their story and giving some action items. So thank you, Janie, for spending the time with me. Thank you to our audience. And as always, we appreciate the privilege to share stories and to conversate with folks like yourself. Till next time.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll talk again very soon. Bye now.